So we have reaction now to Phil's report from the Lieutenant Governor from the state of Florida. Jeanette Nuñez joins us. And Lieutenant Governor, to follow up just on what Phil was saying there, I know it's gradual and it's day one of phase one, but your observations on how the reopening is going so far in your state.
Certainly. Well, we're really excited that we were able to unveil the governor's plan, the safe, smart, step-by-step plan that would allow for Florida's economy to open back up. As you mentioned, many businesses had been shuttered. So right now, restaurants are able to open at limited capacity. We've seen retail open at limited capacity. And I think Floridians were ready. And we're doing it in a way that was going to be attuned to the data that we're seeing, making sure that our phased approach is in alignment with the public health data that we receive. And I think that's been a focus of the governors, to be data-driven and also to be mindful of how when we unveil these openings, we want to make sure that we can build upon it and not have to take steps backwards.
A lot of people watching your state quite closely. And as you know, about a month ago, your administration, led by Governor DeSantis, was criticized fairly widely. They said, well, they didn't shut down soon enough in Florida. And then predictions were made by some that cases were really going to spike and Florida would essentially turn into New York. Now, so far that hasn't happened. Have you learned anything in terms of what the key was for not having a worst case scenario play out in Florida? Was it the weather? Was it the density? Was it something the government did? Have you learned anything?
Absolutely. What I would say is that Governor DeSantis took really important steps, such as being one of the first governors to limit visitation to nursing homes. That's been critical in terms of our strategy. Also, his approach, which was criticized, I think was, it's okay to be biased if you're reporting. It's not okay to be wrong. And the models were a disaster. The headlines that had us as the next New York or an Uber Italy, they predicted over 456,000 hospitalizations. If you can imagine what Florida would look like under those circumstances. But Governor DeSantis was steady. He did not react to those salacious headlines. What he did is he consulted with the experts. He worked with our Department of Health, and he made sure that the measures were taken were measures that were going to be appropriate and were really going to save lives.
Now, all of that said, you are, as the screen shows, you're not reopening by kind of snapping your fingers and saying, hey, listen, everybody get back to work. There's only 25% of capacity at restaurants, for example. Broward, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach are left out of this phase one of the reopening. So what's the message that you're sending to people here? And is there somewhere embedded in all this some sort of a worry that if you don't get this right, that you might see that spike in cases that you didn't get the first time around?
The message really is that we want to be safe, we want to be smart, and we want to do it step by step. And I think we want to make sure that the public, the Floridians that have been sheltered in place for quite some time, have confidence in Governor DeSantis' strategy. And so that's why we're doing it gradually so we can build upon it. And he was over the weekend with meeting with salon owners and other business owners to really understand how is it that we get to yes? How is it that we get those retail facilities that aren't open yet, those counties that aren't open yet? How do we get them to yes? And the way we get them to yes is to continue to focus on expansion of testing, to continue the mitigation strategies that we know work, to collaborate, to make sure we have contact tracing, to make sure we're really protecting the vulnerable, those 65 and up, as well as those with underlying health conditions. And so I think all in all, our strategy—
That's interesting.
I believe go ahead.
The whole idea of getting to yes, I want to follow up on that. It's interesting, but did that come from a conversation with business owners where they said, well, I'm not really ready yet, and some said, well, I want to get back now? What was the conversation or the back and forth like, where there were some concerns where people maybe weren't quite ready and you were trying to reassure them through policy?
Absolutely. I think you have people on both sides of that equation. You have people that are eager and ready and willing to open up today if they could, and you have those that are able and don't feel like they're ready. So obviously that is an individual decision. I know that there are businesses that feel that they want to take stronger measures than what are required, and that's perfectly fine. We want to encourage businesses to do what works for their business model. If businesses feel like they want to open up sooner than what they have wanted to be able to do so, we're helping them get there, but we want them to understand their reasons for why we haven't done that.
Quick final answer on the move from phase one to phase two. When and how does that work?
We don't have a hard and fast deadline when that next phase will come about, but we're looking at the numbers, we're looking at the data very closely. We want to make sure that that rate of positivity does not go up. Everything that we're seeing looks good for Florida. We want to continue to follow that for a couple of days. And then I think we'll hear from the governor soon as to when that next phase, phase 2, will be rolled out.
Fair enough. Thank you. And check back with us if you find the time. We appreciate it today. Lieutenant Governor from the state of Florida.